Yo guys, what's happening? Bitcoin sitting at $66,800. Two big scenarios to speak around today. Bearish scenario, if we don't break through a certain wall, is there new lows incoming? I want to show you a setup that's very important for you to have right now. Second one is us turning bullish, right? Where do we need to break on high time frames now to turn bullish? Then we are seeing altcoins start to rip, right? A couple of altcoins are really starting to move. I want to go through these charts with you guys. So in the meanwhile, smash up the like, smash up the subscribe button, and let's go.
I try and help everyone in my space, and this is what I get. I try and fight the devils, but inside I'm just like 𝗧𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗧𝗏. Welcome to Sheldon Show.
Fam, let's go. Let's jump into it. So first scenario I want to speak around is bearish scenario, right? Not to say that we still got upside. I still think there's upside. I don't think there's much resistance right now. However, we need to pay attention to what is happening right now and this next level, if we get through this next level. Because what we are starting to see is we are seeing a decrease in volume, right? Volume is going down, market's going up, which means we're going to get to a certain wall where the market's going to make a decision. Either it's going to start the next squeeze, right? The next wall is holding control where the bears are holding. We get through it, there's a big squeeze, or there's a massive volume rejection incoming. Right, so let's go through those levels and let's go through the play. So here I got a chart of the bearish scenario, what I see happening. Right, and it's still, everything is lining up to these areas of early 68,000 all the way up to the 69, even possibly close to the $70,000 zone. Right, we are rallying up. We still have a very far way to go. Right, think about the next high where we need to start changing things. Right, the previous high is sitting at 73, basically 74,000. We are still very far from that. Now, the problem that I'm seeing here, specifically on the daily, right, is the RSI is deciding to make its way up, right, the relative strength index. And this, for me, can be one of the leading indicators in the market, right? I'm paying a lot of attention to this right now because it's telling me a little bit of a story, right? We could see clearly here we are making new highs when it comes to the RSI, right? We are showing strength over here. When it comes to the chart, we are still very far, right, from the new highs. Right, which means that as it stands right now, we're starting to form a bearish divergence. Basically telling us, hey, be careful, this move's not real. And it's very likely when rejection happens, we tend to see a fast move, right? So divergences come into play and they tend to be fast reversals. And that's what we pay attention to when we look at these RSIs. But if you look at this very clearly, there's the high, right? So for us to cancel out this divergence, right, we need to see Bitcoin break to 75, 76,000. That cancels out the divergence. But as you can see, there's a very big gap from where we are sitting now to that area over there, which then gets me to the point of, okay, let's pay attention to see where we are possibly seeing rejection areas, right? The first thing is the main momentum trend. That lines up perfectly between 68 and 70,000. The next one is taking a Fibonacci from this wave that we see over here and looking at where are the key Fibonacci points, right? And the 618 is sitting at 68,500. Right? If we take the Fibonacci from here, we are sitting with the 50% mark at 68,000. Right? So there are many basic tools that are telling us this area here, as well as these horizontals, which are slightly higher, close to 70,000. There's also these horizontals sitting over here, right? That's saying that there is a wall of resistance. Okay, when it comes to a couple of indicators to pay attention to, right? The RSIs, I don't know if you see the daily here, but the daily stock is getting to the top. Right, which yet again means that this market needs to speed up a lot faster than what it is right now, right? Otherwise, we do need to prepare for a rejection point. For me, this is what the bearish scenario kind of looks like, right? And it's the scenario to say, and the reason why this scenario is still very much valid, right, is we did speak around how market's probably ready to start rallying closer to the August time. Right, we tend to see, if you look at timing wise, we do around 1,400 days on each lows. We're still on around 1,290, close to 1,300. So if it's going to follow the system of 4-year cycles on lows, which we still can consider us being in play for that, right? It's still around up to 90 days, right? Anywhere between 50 and 100 days we still have until we can possibly find the low. So we need to keep that in mind when it comes to timing the market. Right, and specifically the low areas, as well as this trend. This trend is basically saying, hey, we still got time here before we can see a real break. However, this trend will give us an indication on when things are really starting to get real. Okay, so again, this comes into play. Now, I just want to show you before I go into that again, there is no volume right now, right? Which means for me that it's not real possible moves happening right now. Okay, it can turn real, and I'll explain that shortly, but this is descending. right? This is going up, right? Which means that one fat red volume spike, right, brings us all the way down, right, pretty quickly. Okay, so again, going back to the scenario here, here's still the scenario for me. Is we see a drop to 64,000, right? The more I look at liquidities, we can still see there's a bunch of liquidity sitting close to 64,000, right? So the first drop kind of happens and can wipe this liquidity out over here, right? Then it'll be important how we react there. And if we decide from there to break new highs, right, but a lower high from there, right, will indicate for me a push down to these areas. And basically indicating for me anywhere in the next 10 to 14 days. Right, which means I'm still going to be optimistic, up to that word, right, for new lows, right, in the market, and kind of give the market some time to, hey, prove me that you're really strong and break through these trends. But this for me is still the play right now. A rejection a little bit higher up, push down, and then into these new lows, and then we start moving. Again, the USDT dominance is telling me something similar. It's telling me that we're on an uprising wedge. Okay, now we do have two areas. We have here where the market could reject. This is what the dominance is saying, the USDT dominance. And then we do have here, right, that push to that 70,000 that we've been speaking around. And because there's such a gap here, very likely altcoins are gonna do pretty well in that time. But then what it is telling me, at any point, we could see a slightly higher high, right, and then another rejection. And then I do think closer to the end of the year, we see something like this. And again, this is bullish for markets, right? So this is even indicating that it is possible for a slightly lower low, right, when it comes to Bitcoin and a higher high in USDT dominance. Remember, when this chart's going up, it's bearish for markets. Okay, which gets me then to altcoins. This is where alts are sitting right now. So again, alts are quite far from turning bullish just yet. However, it is nice to see that there's momentum, right? However, we look at this here. Here's all these lows. There's a level of control. That is where we rejected yesterday. Just above that, we have this level of control here, and we have the trend line. So again, if the markets want to reject closely to where we are now, so let's go through that scenario. There is a scenario, right, where we could see, let's just pop up the fib here to show you guys exactly where we are now. We could see a possibility of this. Again, I have a little bit more indication saying possibly higher, but this is a scenario to come into play, right? So again, taking this back to altcoins now, that's what it looks like. If we reject here, fast rejection, lower high is problems, higher high, we need to break through there to 10 bullish. So again, what does that mean? It means that if I am looking to buy longs, I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting to see a test of this area over here, then I'm possibly interested in getting longs into the market, right? If we do decide to squeeze higher from here, there is a squeeze wall just above us. This is the target that I'm looking for. Anything below here, I still am optimistic for a higher low or lower low on alts. We'll see how the Bitcoin dominance reacts over the next couple of days. That will help me identify if there's a higher low coming or a possible lower low coming. But as it stands on Bitcoin, I'm still at that point of a possible new low for Bitcoin. However, if dominance comes down, that does mean that we could be sitting with a higher low on altcoins. The Bitcoin chart, guys, there is another scenario. The other scenario is no new lower low. Is we push up, higher low, and break. So let's get through this part first. Find the real rejection, and then we're going to be fighting between these two levels on where the possible bounce area is. Right, then anything above $72,000, I'm bullish. Right, so just to kind of scale this out here, just to show you guys, a lot of liquidity, high time frames starting to form at the top. Temporary, a lot of it's forming at the bottom. Okay, midterm. But if you obviously start zooming out a little bit, you'll start to see that we do have these big yellow blocks forming here at $70,000, $80,000. Right, so this is a good idea that for us a little bit later on in a couple of weeks, we should see some real strength in the market. But the turning point for me to say, hey, lows are in, specifically if we rally from now, is we start daily closing above the 72, 74,000. And I'd like to sit there for a few days as confirmation. Right, then let's jump through the next ones now. Your Solana's and that. Solana's looking good. However, big wall ahead. So there's a lot of resistance between $78 and $80. Where we turn bullish is above $90. Right, so for now, still optimistic for the new low. Possibility of a higher low. Right now, I'm going to think for as long as we still have these areas, I'm going to think lower low. Possibilities, but as it plays out, we'll start to see. Now, again, I've spoken around Injective, Zcash, NEAR. Just pay attention to how these coins are reacting when the market turns bullish. Right, I spoke around buys of NEAR, of Injective in this zone here. We're now rallying up. Right, look how strong reacting. If we do see something like this, big opportunities. Definitely one of the stronger tokens right now is Injective. And if you zoom out, one of the best opportunities, high time frame for really good gains, right? Also falling part of the perfect narratives we are paying attention to accumulate in this downside, right? Here is Zcash resistance here. Now, I don't think Zcash is going to make a new low off of this chart, right? I do see a possible higher low. Right, so we'll pay attention to these. Let's first see the rejection. Anything above $600 daily close, things turn pretty bullish pretty quickly for Zcash, but it's nice to see the recovery come into play. Again, near protocol, big strength here, big resistance at 2.6. Right, so as it stands, something like that for me is the play. Okay, if we start doing this, then we'll look for a possible flag and another little entry over there. But again, just clarifying, these are the tokens I'm paying attention to for buys. Right, there's possibility of ONDO breakouts. I'll let you guys know. Remember to follow Sniper Trading, okay, on YouTube. Because if I see this breaking out later, I will be identifying you guys. For now, again, one of the stronger tokens. So something like this, if the bearish scenario comes into play, okay, but and this is on my radar. So is Render, right? Render, good bounce, waking up, right? It does have this resistance. I'm not chasing it right now, but something like this could give us those entries close to the 1.5, 1.6. Good token to accumulate. Fetch AI, AVAX is showing some strength. Right, so again, soon we're going to have a lot of fun times when it comes to collecting some altcoins again. For now, we do have to stay focused in the game and focused at getting through this next patch. So again, more ideas right now when it comes to possibly being bearish. Okay. Oh, just to remind you guys, this is ending soon. We got these VIP tickets, guys. So open up a WeX link below in the description to show you guys. Let's show you. There's it over there. Right, go to the spin the wheel, spin to win VIP tickets over there. And remember, club, guys, join Sniper Club with the Blowfin link. You get in with Sniper Club, as well as a WeX link as well. Okay, to jump back in here. Yes, so again, more signs kind of showing us, yes, squeeze to the upside, but let's get through 72,000 and then we turn very bullish. Until then, we expect the next lows. However, we are going to be starting a lot of trading from those lows. I am going all in from the next lows, right? Or the next push to the downside. That's where we really build up and we crunch it up and we're going to make our damn money back. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys all on tomorrow's stream. Lots of love. Bye-bye.